everybody. Oh my gosh, okay. Have I been gone for like 6 months? Yes, I've been gone. But there's something that you may notice, which is Girly Pops, we're in 4K. I got a new camera. So as promised, and as some of you have probably been waiting for, here is my DrachenFest video. Now, you might have noticed the title, which is How Silver Won and Why It Doesn't Matter. I'm gonna go into a really in-depth talk about Silver, my experience, and DrachenFest, but I want to open up with something first. Yes, I work for DrachenFest. I am, in fact, the PR girl. This is literally part of my job. So in a very real sense, yes, this video is an ad, but it's also not an ad in the way that you might think. I'm not reading you a press release. I am not here to convince you that DrachenFest US is perfect, it's flawless, or that you're even going to have a similar experience as me. Not even close. I'm here to talk as a player. I'm here to talk as somebody who is boots on the ground, deep in the dust with Silver every single year. I'm talking to you as somebody who's cried, who's partied, who's bled, in-game only, obviously, and as somebody who's seen what this game is capable of, especially when people show up ready to play with each other and not at each other. So yes, this is technically sponsored by my job, which is also me, which is confusing. But if you're here for a real conversation about DrachenFest US and what it feels like, what it really is beyond what all the chaos, you know, everybody on the internet and maybe, you know, even other places might say, then stay. I have thoughts. So I feel like this past year was Silver really kind of coming into its own. Historically, we've been the smallest camp, and this year, while we were still the smallest camp, in the ratio of actually what small means now is different than it meant in like year one. In year one, we had maybe like 12 people, 11 people. We ended, I think, close to 16 or 17 with people like moving camps and stuff like that. But this year, we actually had, I think, or like this past year, we had about, I think like 70 people. Point is, we actually had enough people to really give our camp some meat. Because I think what's really hurt Silver and the ability to bring Silver's culture to the forefront is just the lack of manpower, the lack of people who are interested in doing this role or this role and this role. DrachenFest is sandbox experience and everybody wants to do what they want to do, but it's kind of like one of those star diagrams where like if something leans more towards the others are not getting their support or help. And I feel like this past year was the first time where everything felt really balanced within Silver. Like all of the niches within the camp, the diplomacy, the war, the rituals, alchemy, like we had people that were in every division. I think my video might have helped a lot. I think Silver might have watched the video, which thank you, because we did majority get our dragon eggs from completing quests, which I don't know if you saw last year, but I went like on a whole rant about, please, for the love of God, complete the quests. It was really beautiful to see how everybody in Silver worked together and put their heads together. It led to victory. They earned it. We earned it. And it felt good, especially after kind of getting bullied for the last couple of years, you know, or getting so close. Like we would get third and then second and then we got first. And that's kind of incredible. I can't believe that year 3 of DrachenFest Silver won. I'm so proud of every single person that was in the camp because it couldn't have happened without every single person involved. But I also want to make sure that something's clear. Yes, we had victory, but victory in DrachenFest doesn't mean that any one camp is better than the other camp. And I have to make that so incredibly clear. Winning functionally changes absolutely nothing in the game. All it does is change whose camp sigil is on the back of the coins at DrachenFest. It also changes the colors of the bazaar, like the bazaar is gonna be covered in silver this year. It's not changing anything about the game and how it functions. We get no bonuses or anything like that. It doesn't mean that we are better. It means that we functioned together cohesively as a group. Winning for Silver wasn't about conquest, it was about cohesion. It was about choosing the same story at the same time and playing on it together, collectively, giving back and forth. That is what winning meant for Silver. I love Silver. I think the people who are in Silver and that play Silver and all of their characters are absolutely wonderful. It's weird being in my position because it's like, I am a player, but I'm also something more than that. When I get to legitimately have great character moments with players in camp, it means so much. One of my goals this upcoming year for 2025 is to really give back to players and yes, have props and have story that they can interact with, that I can provide to them to play. That's absolutely one of my goals. I'm gonna have a lot of kooky stories, so if you're in Silver and you would like to play with Alicia, please do, please play with me. I promise I am not scary. Please play with me. I'm just a silly little dorky gal who's in the woods playing pretend with you, okay? Everything else, the grandeur, is all an illusion. We're all here to play with each other. Honestly, that's really all I have to say about my Silver experience because I want to go into that point that I had about cohesion and playing with each other and like what DrachenFest is like actually about. I feel like a lot of people get it, but I also feel like some of us get lost in the sauce or aren't really sure about what this experience actually is. So we're gonna be talking about the theory behind DrachenFest, in my opinion. Like really what we are seeking to do at this experience and what this experience provides and gives you and allows you and encourages you to do. I really want to touch on player agency in this game. I want to touch on meaningful failure, what collaborative story really is, and like how we are all experiencing it here at DrachenFest. And really, what does sandbox mean? When DrachenFest is a sandbox festival game, what the hell is a sandbox in LARP? What does that mean? And let me get something clear. DrachenFest and the dragon competition within DrachenFest is just the frame for the real stories. The dragon competition sets the real stage. The actual play of this LARP is what happens between us, between our characters, all of our characters, and between our camps, because the camps are characters, right? It's that ability to understand that and zoom in and zoom out. Our characters are the story, and they're agents to that story. We are all agents to each other's stories. So a sandbox LARP, and DrachenFest being a sandbox LARP, does not mean there's no plot. It means we are the plot. Our characters and what we're bringing to these stories is the plot. You don't need permission to set or start your story. You just need to set the stakes of your character. Me playing Alicia, the stakes of my character is that she has a curse. She has a curse that can be activated by a couple of spells. I'm not gonna spoil here. It's something that terrifies her because it's a weakness, and therefore it's also a weakness to Silver Camp. It could be exploited, it could be manipulated, it could hurt her and others around her. Those are the stakes of my story that I bring to the table when I play this character at DrachenFest. You making story as a person with your character at the game, it is not about success. It's about reaction. And sometimes failure in our stories can be a better hook than success because we are trying to get people to engage with us and the story we want to tell, but also we engage in the stories that others wish to tell. Some of the best stories and like some of the best play I've had at DrachenFest is when somebody's asked for help. Somebody offers a cool little trinket, but it's just like a trinket that they had. It's not like anything actually enchanted in the game, but all of a sudden it becomes this thing and it becomes enchanted and it becomes part of the game in a massive, huge way because people keep just lifting it and lifting it and lifting this play. And this simple task that somebody asked for help with now is being solved in the great ritual circle with the head mage or the mages guild involved, and everyone's doing this and doing that and there's drama every which way. That's amazing. That's the point. When we play with something, when you bring plot to DrachenFest as a character, as a person, you know, we can think of it as like a 3-act structure. A request, a complication, and a payoff. It's collaborative theater, both on the battlefield, literally, and off it. You know, the dragons represent values. What happens when values compete? What happens when values align? You have picked the camp that you're going to. You, the player, have picked the camp you're going to based on your character's values, not your values. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but everywhere in the rules and on the website, you're picking where your character feels that they should go, because that's the hook, guys. Where your character should go is the values that they stand for, and that inherently creates conflict with the other values. The game is designed to force choices based on those values. It really reveals what your camp is about, every aspect of the camp and what it's about. There are multiple ways to take every single camp aspect from every camp, not just silver, and turn it up to the good version and the extreme bad version and the extreme good version and something gray in between. There is so much fluidity in how it can be played and how every camp value can be played. It's endless possibilities if you're seeking that kind of structure. We're building a living story together. The camps and the dragons are just mirrors. The real question is, what are we trying to play for ourselves? What are we trying to see in ourselves? What are we trying to experience in this? So the director of DrachenFest US, Dan Comstock, wrote a really, really great blog article. It was posted just a little while ago, and it was like demystifying the sandbox and sandbox play. But it is an incredibly valuable read, because in honesty, what he talks about is basically what I'm saying here, but he goes into detail on how to build your 3-act structure, why that's important, how does that work, and how can we keep play flowing and pick up even when things don't work out. I also have a video that discusses what happens when like plot threads go awry, or when like you don't want to play with somebody anymore. That is a really good video to watch before going to DrachenFest as well. You're going to meet people that you're playing with, you think you're having fun with, and then maybe something steps off and you don't like the vibe anymore, or maybe you don't jive with the person anymore, or maybe there's somebody within your camp that is interested but you don't vibe with them. Whatever the case may be, personally, out of the game or in the game, whatever, influenced by in-game actions, it's a really great video to de-escalate how to get out of those situations and communicate your needs clearly as a player so that play doesn't get disrupted, and also that even if play is disrupted, that you guys can recover, and you can recover telling your story and telling the narrative you want to tell. When we think about our characters, which I also have a how to make a good LARP character video, please watch that too. It will help you make a character that you feel like you can engage with the world of DrachenFest and those around you. Because at the end of the day, we are functionally making avatars of a narrative we wish to experience. Whether that's like you want to be a hero, you want to be a pretty damsel princess, you want to be an evil, conniving villain, whatever you want, you can explore that at DrachenFest. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the sandbox, is that there can be super altruistic, ultra goody two-shoe members of Silver, and there can be really bad guys of Silver. That applies to every camp. There are this super goody two-shoes best example of the best traits of Blue and how they can be expressed, and also the worst, because characters exist on a spectrum, similarly just to how humans do, because we are human. So all of this to say and lead me into the next part of this video, which is how we can play with each other and not against each other at DrachenFest. What I mean by this in detail is that we are playing with each other versus at each other. It's kind of like the same idea of like when you are talking with somebody and having an active conversation versus talking at somebody. Being a one-sided conversation, essentially giving a lecture, right? Like technically right now I'm talking at you. We're not having like a back and forth conversation of what I'm saying or whatever. I think what's the most important thing to understand about DrachenFest is that you are not girly pop, my dude, whoever. You are not the main character. Nobody is the main character. But that means you're somebody else's greatest narrative foil to their story. And that is way more fun than just being the main character. Going back to what I said about everything at DrachenFest being a sandbox, that doesn't mean you're sink or swim. It's more like the community vibe of the game, and what they're going for is more like, yes, we're a sandbox. Bring your shovel, bring your bucket, and we're gonna build a castle together. When we're playing with each other in LARP, yes, this applies to DrachenFest, but this also applies to LARP as a whole, as in a complete art form. There's a shared language, there's a shared rhythm, and there's a shared responsibility to each other. So I'm actually going to touch on more parts of the blog that I wrote down, Comstock's blog, that I'm gonna reference in here, because I think he has some really, really good points. Like I said, I'm not gonna go through the whole blog, but I wanna give thoughts on why I think each of these are important and how we can include them in our stories. Nowadays, especially in the growing zeitgeist of American LARP culture, the idea of play to lift is probably louder than ever. I think more than ever in our history, in our community, the idea of playing to lift each other and lifting each other's role play is front and center. Really what play to lift means, it's all about validation. We are validating each other's play. We are validating each other's role play and our stories and the narratives that come with that. When you treat somebody's story like it matters, when you lean in instead of brushing off, you're telling somebody that they belong here. They belong at this LARP. Their character story, their role play belongs here, that it matters here at DrachenFest, or really any other LARP that you go to. That validation is giving others the ability to understand that their imagination has power. It has power and it has meaning, and I get emotional at that, because what we're doing here is play, everybody. We're playing with each other. And when you give another human being validation that their imagination, limitless and creative potential that exists within every single one of us has power, that is the magic of LARP. That is it. That is what DrachenFest teaches you to do. How often do you get to hear that in real life? How often do you get to feel that you get to feel like your story matters, that your play matters? When we lift each other and validate each other's play, when we play to lift, we tell each other that we matter. Here's the extension of the validation. So when we say play to lift, I've referenced before in other videos the concept of plot hogging, or being like a spotlight character or a star character, and like what that can mean. Usually when I reference a star character, it means somebody of high visibility. I am kind of referencing myself in this, but there are other players that can fill these roles, right? Like seconds, people who are camp coordinators but then play the game when the game starts, people who have very popular characters, very recognizable characters. These are usually like star players, right? And it can be very easy for them to find themselves in the spotlight very often. For seconds, it's a little bit different because it's literally their job to relay, but it's not their job to be in the spotlight. It's their job to help you find your spotlight. Not every character needs to be loud, but every character deserves their spotlight. Every character deserves their time in the sun. Every player deserves their moment. Sometimes that means stepping back, letting go, or letting someone else be the voice of a scene. Letting somebody else be the center of the scene. Sometimes it means setting them up to fail. Sometimes it means it's setting them up to win, or sometimes it means it's setting them up to grow. Not necessarily like the player, obviously. We're talking about character and character narratives. It's both, right? We are both semi-conscious when we LARP. We are both playing as our character, but we are also trying to navigate play as the people playing these characters, right? So if you know, okay, if you are able to step outside of yourself and look at a story that is brewing, or a story you're a part of, being like, okay, I know so-and-so is looking for this component for a spell, right? Okay, I have a moment to lift them by doing X, Y, or Z thing. Or I have a moment that I can fail in helping them do X, Y, or Z thing, and maybe it could lead to this for them. The continuing of, oh my God, we thought this solution would work, but it doesn't. And now we have to do something else. And keeping the ball rolling. That is something that all of us can do for each other. That's spotlighting, and that's generosity. when you know that like, oh yes, you could probably do this thing and fix it or have this moment in the ritual circle and it be all about you and your character. But when we pass these moments to others around us, that is when spotlights happen. That is when somebody steps into a role and maybe is confident about having a speech that they never thought in real life they could ever do. Maybe that's somebody, fighting a duel that they thought they would lose. When we are spotlighting each other, it is again another form of validation, but it's validation with generosity and intent for your fellow players. Now, I know I got into the whole playing with each other versus at each other, right? Like I want to go into this idea and concept more. Especially with a lot of classic American LARP culture, it is extremely tempting to come into a LARP like this and have what you want to do all planned out, right? Like what you want to do, what you want your character to be, A to B for the whole 4 days planned out. But if you're not listening to the players and the characters around you, you're missing out on the bigger story. DrachenFest works when we play with each other and not around each other. And that means reacting, letting your character get affected by something emotionally, physically, whatever. It's about getting weird. It's about getting vulnerable and making choices maybe that you didn't expect to make and getting out of your comfort zone. LARP is inherently a vulnerable act. LARPing is an extremely vulnerable act, okay? One of the things that I do for DrachenFest is I get to talk to some of the influencers that are coming to the event. Here's the thing, and this is something that I told them that I'm gonna repeat to you. We demand vulnerability when we LARP. There is a level of sincerity that must be given. We are simply playing with each other, and the act of play is a vulnerable act. Spaces that are safe in LARP, right, like in our greater community, that are safe and make people feel safe, like DrachenFest, and to me, like Giovanni, or The Night in Question, all these other LARPs that make spaces safe to be vulnerable and explore these narratives are so important. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and to tell stories that are beyond ourselves and that include others or that are changed because of others, that's beautiful. That's art. I encourage you with everything that I have to allow yourself to get weird, get vulnerable, get silly. There is no need to bring outside things like, you don't have to worry about being so macho or being able to be seen as perfect or doing things perfectly or as best and beautiful as they can be. The fact is that you're doing it. The fact is that you're role-playing at all. The fact that you're doing it at all deserves validation. I also said that, we talk about like the stakes for our characters, right? Like what are the stakes? On the idea of character stakes, I love the idea that stakes don't have to be huge to matter. They can be huge, right? But they don't have to be huge to matter, right? Like my plot with Alicia, with her curse is very personal. It's really not something that comes into play very often, like at all. If ever. There have been years where it never gets touched on at all, and that's okay. And there have been times where it does, and it's been super fun to play on. But the stakes are small. It's not always about the dragons and the avatars and your destiny. Sometimes the stakes could be something like this. If I fail at this, I'll lose the respect of somebody that I care about. Or if I win this duel, I'll feel like I finally belong here. And when you let those stakes matter, the game comes alive. The game becomes something more. It becomes something more than even what you thought it could be. I wanted to also touch on why do I think people come back to DrachenFest? Why do I look forward to this every year? Now, granted, it is like my biggest event of the year, and sometimes it can be stressful as hell, but I always am looking forward to it. I've been trying to think about why is that? I think it's because on a base level, there's something very cathartic in playing these stories. I think there's something very cathartic for me about playing Alicia, personally. I mean, Alicia is the very first character I ever created. I created her on a stormy night during Hurricane Sandy when I was in high school, in my sophomore year of high school, and she represented everything I thought I wasn't but wanted to be, when in reality, she's me, and I'm her, because I play her. What's been so powerful for a lot of people, going into DrachenFest is what we get to explore about ourselves through our characters in these stories and in these narratives. We get to explore who we are, maybe who we want to be, or parts of ourselves that we despise. And we get to play on those themes around ourselves personally through our characters. Through that play, we learn about ourselves. And again, I'm gonna reiterate something so clearly. LARP is not therapy. You should not be using LARP for therapy. Please don't do that. Please go see a therapist. I've been seeing a therapist for 5 years and I love her very much. Thank you, Caitlin. LARP isn't therapy, it's therapeutic. I think LARP, and when we consciously LARP, right? Meaning like when we consciously design characters around parts of ourselves we wish to explore, right? Whether that be, you know, your trauma with public speaking, or it could be wanting to feel confident, whatever that might be for you personally. When we create with that in mind, on purpose, and we explore it on purpose, and we figure out what story we are telling, both for ourselves and for others, we create meaningful play and also self-exploration for our inner selves. That's why LARP creates such deep friendships and real-world bonding, because it inherently takes trust. DrachenFest helps bring trust to the table, trust of your fellow player, your fellow man, which is something that, especially in America and in these times, is super rare. It brings honesty, vulnerability, and trust to the table, and we all partake in it because we're all here to play the game, which is playing with each other. Every year, we walk into DrachenFest as people, and every year, we walk out as something more. Something a little bit more magical, a little bit more wiser, maybe a little bit dustier or bruised, or a little weirder. And I think that's why we keep coming back. To kind of wind down this video, what I'm hoping for this year is to really start to explore some of my own plots to the table. I think for, you know, a little while I've been an observer, playing with others and hyping others up as I can, but I think I want to contribute my plot to Silver in a way that is fun, interesting, and meaningful, and I hope people really have fun with whatever dumb bullshit I cook up. I think what I would love to see from Silver this year is people wholeheartedly and genuinely interacting with each other and lifting each section of this camp's play. Now, I understand there are some players that go to different camps and rotate camps every year. I think that's fine, well and good. In my opinion, I also think that's a different way to sort of be neutral, because if you never stay somewhere, then you can never put roots in your character's plot to this story or whatever story you're telling with them, right? It always is getting uprooted and changed based on the values of the camp and whatnot. What I'm hoping for the people that are in Silver and wish to remain in Silver is that we continue to grow our camp culture together, that there are people who take every aspect of our camp seriously and every camp role seriously. You know, I had a whole moment last year and in my last DrachenFest video talking about the leadership positions. I hope that in Silver, the players who take the leadership positions understand what they're signing up for and wholeheartedly throw themselves into it and use their positions to lift other players up, not shut them down. It's not for the diplomat and the general to fight against each other. It's not for the spy master and the champion to be at odds or be the only two that get along. Every single branch of a camp has a reason why it's there. Every part of a camp has a reason to why it exists and why those players wish to be part of that story and what they want to play. Every single part is valid. All of those pieces are valid. And what I would love to see from Silver is that internal validation from all different types of the aspects of Silver coming together to make a collective story of Silver. We have nothing to prove. We won. So now we get to bask in our reign, and I want them to bask in their reign and be supportive of one another and perhaps support another camp in their running to victory. It's not about doing it right. It's about showing up and being ready to listen to the world of DrachenFest, to the world of your cam, and to the world of the players around you. The best thing I can say as well to close this up, what can you do to prepare? You can watch my videos. In earnest, please watch my videos. Watch my videos on character creation, watch my videos about plot, educate yourself about what this is beyond just, oh, I like to hit people with boffer sticks. Like, we're participating in a group art form, guys. So do that. Embrace that and give yourself the knowledge. I've done my best on this channel and will continue to on this channel to explore LARP and what that means. What is live action roleplay as its art form, as a game, and as a sport? It's 3 things in one, and educating yourself on that is, I think, like the most important thing. To close out this video, guys, I think I really have one thing to say. The thing is, this kind of play, the kind of play that DrachenFest invites and encourages, the kind where you're reacting, you're validating, you're spotlighting, and you're building the story together, that is what makes DrachenFest more than just a cool looking war game. The battlefield and the cool rituals, that's just the surface. The real game is how we carry each other through the story of DrachenFest and also our individual ones. DrachenFest US is what we make of it together. Honestly, I invite you guys in the comments down below to tell me what you're excited for. Tell me what you're hoping for this year. And really, that's all I have for you. And I finished my glass of wine perfectly on time. I cannot wait to see you guys at DrachenFest this year. We're gonna have so much fun together, and I hope even if I don't see you, even if we don't play together, that you explore something new and fun with whoever you meet. Thank you guys so much. There are so many videos that are coming out. I have a camera, we have a camera. Girlies, we are back in business. With that in mind, thank you so much, everybody. Love you. See you soon at DrachenFest, and happy LARPing. Bye.